Welcome back to another episode of The Natty Teacher. I'm, of course, your host. Who else but The Natty Teacher? It is an early Friday morning here. Just a couple minutes before 6:45 a.m. Nice sunshiny day. And we got some legs. Now, this is our Leg B workout. Again, if you are new to the channel, Leg B, which is our, of course, second leg workout of the week, is pretty much 99.9% direct hamstring and glute work, okay? So we had our Leg A workout earlier this week on Tuesday, pretty much all quad work, or I should say more quad bias work, a lot of larger compound movements, things like that. You know, more movements that the way that we work them, we're utilizing more quads than anything. And then today, in our second leg workout, quite the opposite. Pretty much all hamstrings and glutes. And some inner thigh work. But anyways, yeah, we're going to jump right into it, man. To get us started is the inner thigh work, coincidentally. I like to start with an adductor machine for a couple reasons. One, because I like to work the one area that I feel like can really give you those nice wide legs from the front and back, the adductor, and those inner thighs. You can fill in the gaps. Okay, so we want to prioritize that to try to add that nice width to the legs, that visible width to the legs. Also, I like working the adductor because it just helps open up my hips. Kind of helps open up the hips, gets the hip flexors nice and warmed up, just gets everything ready to rock for any kind of like hip hinging movements or, really essentially any movement I'm going to work today. It just works really well to get everything nice and loose and ready to rock and roll. So anyways, adductor is first. Top set of adductors is coming at you right about now. Well, as promised, top set of adductor coming at you right now. So what you're going to see here is I'm really controlling that opening portion, the retraction of the movement, and then I'm bringing the actual, I call them paddles, so the little pads that you rest on the inside of your knees here, I'm making sure that those paddles are actually coming together and touching. They're making a connection. So we are getting a nice full range of motion. We're allowing the hips and the hip flexors, those inner thighs, to really open up and stretch, and then we're bringing those pads together and then holding for a brief moment in that fully shortened position right there. Okay, I would recommend for the adductor working in at least the medium to relatively high rep ranges. I usually like to keep it between that 10 and 20 rep range, obviously closer to 10, 12 for the top sets. Then if I'm doing a back off set, that's where I'll kind of go for maybe closer to 12 to 20, 15 to 20 kind of thing. Okay, really emphasize that squeeze, get an awesome pump. Again, this is an exercise that is absolutely going to help add some mass to those inner thighs. 2 working sets there, 1 top set, 1 back off set. Then 3 working sets of my favorite hamstring builder, the OG, man, lying hamstring curls, okay? You're gonna see that I'm coming out of the bottom hard, but then controlling that retraction all the way down. I like to make sure that I rest that back pad, so the one closest to the feet. I like to rest that kind of towards the lower portion of my calves, but not quite all the way to the bottom of like the heels. I feel like leverages for me, I have pretty long legs, that doesn't really work well. So I like to rest it, I would say if for most people, resting it towards the middle or lower portion of the calf would be ideal. Try to line it up there, okay? So we're doing 3 working sets here. This is the top set. All at this weight, I think we're using 150 pounds here, and we did 3 working sets all between 10 and 15 reps or 12 and 15 reps. I believe we did 15 here as a top set at least. And then again, like I said, did 2 additional sets after that. I absolutely use this exercise to, this is one of those exercises where I do utilize taking a moment like right here and just resting for a second and then just continuing to power through it. I think that this is an exercise that is ideal for that. It's not some big compound movement. So this isolation type exercise, you can absolutely just rep the crap out of. So again, 3 total working sets here. And then we moved on to arguably one of my new favorite hamstring and glute developing exercises. Now, this should look relatively familiar. All we have here is a very simple Smith machine RDL, but you'll notice that I've lightened the load and I've elevated the heels. I saw a bunch of people doing these heel elevated RDLs, and I'm like, interesting. That is an interesting concept. So I elevated the heels a little bit, and I really, really like this one. It was something that, again, I am not really used to. but I really, really like this. So what we're doing here is we're trying to keep a lot of tension on the hamstrings and glutes in particular. We are driving the bar down to about the midpoint or maybe slightly above the midpoint of the shins, and then we are coming out of the bottom hard. I know it's kind of hard to tell with longer pants on here, but I do, of course, have just a very slight bend in the knees. We don't need to be bending our knees down to 90 degrees. I would highly recommend giving a higher rep variation of RDLs a try. I never can really connect with RDLs great. I've been trying to play with them, and I just didn't want to get rid of them. I love the fact that it is a hip hinging movement, and so I've been having to play around with it a little bit, and I absolutely love this variation. It's awesome. So I definitely plan on running this one and keeping it in that higher rep range. So today we did 2 sets of 20. It's just 2 plates, so it wasn't anything super, super heavy, but we did do 2 really solid sets of 20 here, and got an awesome pump in the hamstrings more than anything, a little bit in the glutes as well, of course. And please recognize, guys, you're going to feel your lower back. That is totally okay, but you don't want to have it feel painful. If you get a little blood flow in your lower back, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Any kind of hip hinging movement, you're going to feel in your lower back. There's just no doubt about it. But it's when it starts to hurt your lower back, well, now you're starting to run into an issue, or where you feel like you're lifting with only your lower back, well, then we've definitely run into an issue at that point. Okay, so again, 2 sets here, both 20 reps. Then, adding some weight on in this bad boy here, some Smith machine hip thrusts. I call them Smith thrusts, okay? We got 4 plates and a quarter here, adding more and more weight. This is actually my second set. One thing my wife pointed out, which I really like this, and I definitely am going to implement this, is she's like, man, you know, it looks like you can get a little bit more room on the way down, and I agree. That's the one thing about a Smith machine that kind of stinks, is it does bottom out. So next week, when you guys tune in, you will see that my feet will be slightly elevated so I can dip those hips just a little bit lower, get a little bit more of a stretch. But again, we're holding that contraction at the top and that portion right there, really squeezing those glutes together. We did 3 sets, 6 to 8 reps here. I actually did my first set was 6 reps, and then I did 2 follow-up sets at this weight, and hit both of those for 8. So I was like, all right, well, that's cool, man. So again, 3 working sets here. Then, again, one of my favorite glute and hamstring developers, particularly the glutes, glute hyperextensions, okay? What we're doing here is we're getting a super deep stretch. We are stretching. I like to think of, we're trying to elongate those hamstrings as much as possible. Try to make the hamstring muscles as long as possible, all those cords in the hamstrings, okay? We are trying to elongate those as much as possible. Sit in the bottom right here, like that, and then when we pull up, again, I know it sounds kind of goofy, but picture like a pencil. You're squeezing together a pencil in between your butt cheeks. I know it's kind of a goofy thing, but it is a really good way to picture it, okay? We're pulling up. I like to think of, I'm pulling up my body. Of course, I'm going to use my lower back a little bit. There's no doubt about that, but I'm really trying to pull up my lower body with my glutes, okay? I'll sit in that fully shortened position at the top right here for a moment, squeeze those glutes together, and then come back down and sit in that fully lengthened position as well. Again, this is a phenomenal builder for the glutes and hamstrings when done correctly. I would not recommend starting with weight here. I would just start body weight and actually be able to work on that mobility piece. Again, you're going to feel your lower back. You just want to make sure you feel your glutes and hamstrings more than you feel your lower back. When you get to that point, it means you're probably doing something right, and you can start to progressively overload it, okay? So again, we did 2 high rep sets here. Then we did a top set of 17 here, the one that is recorded, and then we did another set of 16. Then went on to some abductors, okay? So instead of adducting and bringing the thighs closer together, we are doing the opposite. We are abducting and bringing the legs further apart from each other. This is great for that outer glute, outer thigh. Feels awesome. I have found that keeping constant tension right in here, it looks like my legs are like resting in that, like, in this position right here. But what I've done is I make sure that I do not allow the weight to drop. So I bring them together and then hold in that fully lengthened position, as well as I push my knees far apart. And it's, again, just a phenomenal exercise for the outer glutes and outer thighs. Really focus on this one. Don't worry about the weight so much. Really focus on the squeeze. That's why I do it towards the ends. We did 1 top set, 1 back off set here. Calves and abs were not filmed, but they were completed. Leg B session in the books. Yet again, the streak continues. 20 out of 10 workout. It's just phenomenal. I mean, again, I know that these fractions just don't make any, they don't make any sense. The percentage is at 200%. What can I say? Bodybuilding doesn't make sense sometimes, and these workouts, they do make sense because I have, in a caloric surplus and growing, all that kind of stuff. It makes sense. But they've just been awesome. Better than expected, put it that way. Strength is flying, form is getting tighter and tighter. Just everything is just like, I don't know what that sound effect was. I was going to check boxes, like check. Regardless, everything's going great. Yeah. So tomorrow I have a rest day vlog. Here's what I want you all to do. If you see this video, it is Friday right now, at least, you know, in Michigan. So if you are outside of the US, make sure that you still follow along with this if you can. If you see this video, make sure you throw a comment in the comment section below on something you would want me to do a rest day vlog on tomorrow. Now, I have my Natty notebook at home, which has all of my different video ideas in it, and I've covered like only 1 or 2, I think. So I still have like arguably close to 75, maybe 100 topics left. So obviously I will, regardless, still make a rest day vlog tomorrow, upload it, you know, just on some sort of bodybuilding, lifestyle related topic. But if you have something you would want me to see, whoever you are out there in the YouTube world, if you have something you would want me to talk about, I should say, please drop a comment below. And if I see it before tomorrow morning, I'll make a video about it, which I will see it before tomorrow morning, as long as I get, you know, I have my notifications turned on, so I see when people comment. So I will see it. So make sure you drop a comment below, and I'll make a video about it. Okay. Or even if there's multiple topics, I'll cover a few. So yeah, drop a comment. Speaking of that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I appreciate y'all for following along on my journey. It is still just the beginning, man. It is so exciting and very, very motivating to see y'all commenting and liking and, you know, subscribing and all that. Man, it's awesome. Even if that wasn't happening, I would still be putting out daily content because I really enjoy this, but it just makes it that much more motivating when y'all do. So I really appreciate you for joining along with me. Anyways, y'all have a blessed weekend. But for today, I am the Natty Teacher, and summer school is out. I'll catch y'all on the manana.